The first pivotal step, the decision itself. You'll vividly recall that lukewarm coffee, long forgotten and cold, not the complex spreadsheet on your screen. Not the figures you meticulously circled in red, but that mundane detail, coupled with the microwave clock reading 11:47 p.m. and the distinct silence of your apartment. In that quiet, the only sounds are the refrigerator's soft hum and the steady rhythm of your own breath. You are 25 years old. Your annual income is $54,000, which hovers around the U.S. median household income. This amount often feels either surprisingly ample or barely sufficient, depending on the hour. You have $6,200 saved, a student loan burden of $23,000, and a credit card. On that card, you've carried a revolving balance since you were 22. The current balance is $2,800. You've intended to pay it off for so long that this intention has morphed from a goal into a part of your identity. But tonight, you take an action that, to anyone else, would appear utterly unremarkable. You resolve to make a change. This isn't about quitting your job, moving to a secluded cabin, or selling all your possessions to live off the land. It's far simpler. You decide to stop your money from flowing through your hands without any clear direction. You're setting a new course. From this moment forward, 70 cents of every dollar you earn will be dedicated. It will either pay down debt or be invested into a low-cost index fund. The remaining 30 cents will then cover all your other expenses. This includes your rent, food, and every other aspect of your daily life. These straightforward financial principles don't come from a guru or a best-selling book. They originate from a much more personal place. They stem from a calculator and a profound, quiet desperation you are finally prepared to face directly. You run the numbers. You meticulously perform the calculations twice, then a third time. You simply don't trust yourself to have gotten it right on the first attempt. Your current savings rate is approximately 8%, which is notably above the national average of 3.9%, according to the Bureau of Economic Analysis. This fact alone reveals something devastating. Given your current financial trajectory, you realize you won't have true freedom until you reach the age of 58. That's when genuine options might finally appear. However, if you managed an almost impossibly high savings rate of 70%, that freedom could arrive by age 35. The contrast is stark. This isn't merely a difference of a decade or so. It represents an entirely different existence, a fundamentally altered life path. You gently close your laptop, the weight of this realization settling in. The profound decision has just been made. It happens right here, in the very room where you ate breakfast, within the same unchanging apartment. Nothing around you outwardly signals this shift. This momentous choice unfolds unwitnessed, without any fanfare or acknowledgement from the world outside your thoughts. That's the overlooked truth about life's pivotal decisions. They rarely feel significant or dramatic at the precise moment they occur. Your forgotten coffee has grown cold. You pour it away, marking the quiet, irreversible commencement of a new chapter. This brings us to level 2, the silence. 3 months later, a significant development occurs in Marcus's life. Marcus purchases a brand new apartment, not merely new to him, but a recently constructed, modern dwelling. It's one of those sleek downtown buildings, all glass and exposed concrete, boasting a gym with breathtaking skyline views. You attend his housewarming on a Saturday in March, finding yourself in his living room, sampling gourmet cheeses. Unexpectedly, a profound sensation washes over you, a feeling of complete and utter invisibility within the lively gathering. It's not due to anyone being unkind. Marcus is generous, the company is pleasant, and the apartment is genuinely stunning. Yet, no one asks about your financial journey or scrutinizes your investment account with the same enthusiasm they reserve for the kitchen island. For 11 weeks, you've diligently adhered to your new financial guidelines, seeing tangible progress. During this period, you successfully paid down $1,900 of your outstanding credit card balance. You also significantly trimmed your recurring expenses, cutting subscriptions from 7 down to just 2. Your current vehicle is a 2017 Honda Fit, which you wisely purchased outright for $8,400 in cash. This smart move eliminated a $310 monthly car payment and offers an impressive 36 miles per gallon. Yet, Despite its practicality and the financial freedom it provides, no one has ever once inquired about it. You've also automated your finances, ensuring $3,150 is transferred out of your account the moment your paycheck arrives. From that sum, $1,200 is strategically invested into a Roth IRA and a taxable brokerage account each month. An additional $800 is consistently directed towards debt repayment, with the remaining amount covering your daily living costs. You are consciously building a solid foundation, understanding its importance intellectually and logically. However, the profound emotional satisfaction of these efforts hasn't quite registered within you yet. At the party, a new acquaintance casually asks about your car, and you openly share its details. A brief, yet noticeably prolonged, silence hangs in the air before they simply nod and steer the conversation elsewhere. This isn't a single, devastating moment, but rather a collection of subtle pauses where social validation once resided. Friends no longer suggest splitting vacation rentals, knowing your answer, and colleagues stop inviting you to expensive happy hours. You adhere strictly to your new principles. What often goes unmentioned about embracing a simpler life is the significant social price, which you must pay up front. This means enduring the initial discomfort and judgment long before your financial decisions have yielded any visible success. You experience a certain invisibility and a unique loneliness as you pursue a path no one else seems to understand, with no tangible achievements yet to showcase. By the third month, your investment portfolio holds a modest $4,100. This sum feels far from impressive, offering no sense of liberation, merely appearing as an isolated figure on a private statement. Yet, unbeknownst to the outside world, something significant is quietly beginning to unfold, even as others enjoy their seemingly better lives. This is the moment the gap starts to form, marking your progression to the third stage of your financial journey. Then, by the end of your second year, all your outstanding debt is completely eliminated, including credit card balances and student loans, cleared 11 months early. The final payment brings not a burst of triumph, but a quiet, almost ordinary feeling of a long-standing burden finally lifting. It's like a constant, low-level background hum you'd grown accustomed to, suddenly ceasing to exist. Immediately, those former debt payments are rerouted directly into investments, without any celebration or corresponding boost to your lifestyle. The funds that once departed now remain, but in a new, productive way. This strict adherence to avoiding lifestyle inflation, especially after a pay raise, was your greatest challenge. In month 14, you received an annual raise of $4,200, an amount that typically signifies financial relief and a chance to relax. However, you instead chose to boost your automatic monthly investments by $350, allocating the remainder of the raise to nothing specific. Now, with newfound clarity, you grasp that this particular discipline is the true differentiator between those who merely discuss wealth creation and those who actively achieve it. Every study on personal finance, regardless of its presentation, consistently reinforces one core truth. Your savings rate holds more weight than your actual income. A detailed 2023 Vanguard analysis on retirement outcomes specifically identified a consistent contribution rate as the most powerful predictor of long-term wealth accumulation. This factor proved more influential than market returns, the specific fund selections made, or even the timing of those investments. The financial principles are designed to function effectively if you simply allow them to. However, most people, for various reasons, do not. By the time month 26 arrived, my total invested amount had reached $19,400. This point in the narrative typically doesn't elicit any fanfare, as $19,400 isn't a sum people casually share or celebrate at social events. It doesn't make for a compelling photograph or warrant a housewarming party, lacking any tangible, visible appeal. Instead, it's merely a figure within a brokerage account, quietly and exponentially growing, patiently driven by the S&P 500's historical average returns, all while I continue with my daily life. I have a friend named Devin, who is 26, a year younger than me. He works in logistics, earning $49,000 annually, and recently financed a $52,000 truck. This new vehicle incurs a monthly payment of $980, plus an additional $290 each month just for insurance. Devin is a genuinely great person, witty, warm, exceptionally skilled at his job, and someone I would always rely on if things went wrong. However, to my understanding, Devin has approximately $0 invested anywhere, though he takes immense pride in his pristine truck. I deeply comprehend, without judgment, the precise significance of that truck to Devin, because I recall what I was seeking at 25 before discovering these financial principles. I was pursuing something very similar. The growing disparity between our financial paths isn't yet apparent, as we are both just 26 or 27, leading outwardly similar lives. We share a comparable income bracket, reside in the same city, and navigate the same general social circles. Yet, beneath this surface, our trajectories have diverged so completely that in just 5 years, the chasm between our paths will be so vast that connecting across it will become nearly impossible. This widening divide is the silent truth of personal finance, a crucial element rarely discussed. It's not simply about the sacrifices one makes or the discipline one maintains to save money. Rather, it's an invisible, ever-expanding mathematical chasm separating those who invest early from those who perpetually intend to begin next year. Stripped of motivational cliches and inspirational posters, the fundamental reality of compound interest is surprisingly simple. Its entire mechanism boils down to one element: time. By investing, you are essentially purchasing time itself. A dollar invested in your mid-20s holds significantly more potential value than that same dollar invested a decade later. This isn't magic, but a consequence of that earlier dollar having 10 extra years to perform its growth function. Now, I can replace the tires on my car for $480 without a flicker of guilt. My apartment, simplified by the one-in-one rule, has become a space I genuinely adore spending time in. Every item in my home serves a purpose or brings me true satisfaction, eliminating unnecessary clutter. Clutter, it turns out, extracts a psychological toll. While minimalism literature describes it breathlessly, one must feel it personally to truly understand. I feel lighter, still operating quietly and unseen, continuing to build my foundation in the shadows. In just one more year, the financial figures will reveal an undeniable truth, and I'm not prepared for the emotional impact it will have. Welcome to Level 4, the pressure. In the third year, something begins to crack, though it isn't the plan itself, which continues to unfold perfectly. The true nature of this developing fracture, however, remains elusive, a feeling lodged deep within my being, beyond words. It manifested intensely one October Friday evening, as I sat in my minimalist apartment, suddenly overwhelmed by a profound sense of solitude. This wasn't mere loneliness. It was the distinct isolation of someone choosing a fundamentally different path. Just last September, for instance, I opted out of my cousin's trip to Las Vegas. It wasn't due to a lack of funds. I could have certainly afforded a version of the experience. However, my budget-conscious approach, a modest $600 for a sensible hotel and 2 nights, clashed with the group's expensive, credit-fueled exuberance. My mind, now perpetually calculating financial implications, immediately ran the numbers. I realized that the $600, combined with $300 in lost investment compounding over a decade, equated to over $1,500 in future value. Consequently, I remained at home while they enjoyed their lavish getaway. Later, at 2 a.m., a group photo arrived from the Strip, showing everyone at their absolute best. I simply placed my phone face down on the table, confronting the complex emotions stirring within me. Was this truly the objective? To become a self-designed hermit, observing others' lives while I quietly accumulated wealth? This was the uncomfortable question I had consistently avoided addressing head-on. The social ramifications of my strict financial discipline had been steadily accumulating. These were subtle, yet significant sacrifices, foregoing certain restaurants, or lacking anecdotes about cars, vacations, or home renovations to share with my peers. Beyond the basic sacrifices, I found myself increasingly outside the specific, status-coded language my peer group used to define success and belonging. A 2024 Pew Research study noted that financial stress often harms relationships, Yet my situation was paradoxically reversed. For me, it was the absence of financial worries that began to strain my connections and alter my social dynamics. I recall a Sunday call with my mother. She inquired about my well-being, and I offered a simple, reassuring yes. However, she knew me well enough to sense that my brief affirmation didn't fully capture the truth of my state. What no one really explains about pursuing financial independence in your late 20s in America is its fundamentally countercultural nature. The entire framework of modern existence, from pervasive advertising to social media algorithms, pushes us towards constant consumption. Every piece of content is meticulously designed, with vast sums of money, to make buying things feel not just appealing but essential. It's presented as the right way to live, what responsible adults do, and a hallmark of a life well organized. Therefore, choosing to step away from this societal expectation isn't a neutral act. It feels distinctly like an act of defiance. Holding on to such dissent is inherently uncomfortable, especially when you navigate it alone, particularly at the age of 27. This feeling intensifies on a Friday night, as my phone frequently illuminated with images of friends enjoying loud, expensive, and beautifully photogenic moments. That month, I found myself questioning everything: my self-imposed rules, the underlying math, and the very person I was striving to become. I wondered if I was genuinely optimizing my life or merely sitting it out, reduced to entries on a spreadsheet. Then, something significant occurred that utterly re-centered my perspective. I decided to check my brokerage account, reaching level 5, the turning point, with $47,000. Upon seeing the figure, I had to double-check. A precise $47,300 now resided in my account. This sum was the result of diligently contributing to my investments for the past 33 months without fail. There was a particularly challenging period between months 14 and 18 when the market experienced a significant dip. My balance actually decreased for several weeks, stirring a deep unease within me that I consciously chose to ignore. That decision, to do absolutely nothing and simply remain invested, proved to be the most crucial financial choice I've ever made. Eventually, the market rebounded, and my balance climbed, reaching $47,300 from a combination of my contributions and investment returns. This was achieved with an income that never surpassed $62,000, maintaining an initial savings rate of 70%. I consistently held this rate for 3 years, deliberately resisting the urge to increase my spending despite incremental raises. I spent a considerable amount of time simply contemplating this significant number, letting its weight sink in. While it marked a turning point, the moment itself felt far from cinematic. There was no dramatic music or congratulatory fanfare. I was just sitting on my couch, in an apartment costing $1,240 a month, which was precisely 24% of my take-home pay, perfectly within my own financial rule. In a city where average one-bedroom rents now hover around $1,890, I was observing $47,300 diligently working for me, even as I slept. Last month, my friend Devin purchased new rims for his truck, costing $1,800, which he financed with a credit card. He showed me a picture, and they genuinely looked impressive. I told him so and meant it, yet I also knew what that $1,800 represented. Invested at my age with historical average returns, that amount would be worth approximately $12,400 by the time I reach 45, a mathematical truth I can no longer ignore. The mathematical truth about investment growth, previously discussed, is now utterly undeniable to me. It's not about judging Devin's choices. This financial understanding now constantly occupies my thoughts. It's like a second language learned late, yet I now effortlessly think in its fundamental terms. This is the inflection point the financial independence community often mentions, but rarely fully clarifies. Around year 3 or 4, an investment account balance stops being just a number. It transforms into actual, tangible units of future freedom and available time. My $47,300, averaging 10% annually, now produces roughly $4,700 each year. This income generates itself, without my work, simply by letting the funds grow undisturbed. That amounts to $391 every month, purely from my money working alone. Though this sum seems small, it marks the beginning of an unstoppable, compounding force. This figure will double, then double again, eventually exceeding my monthly rent within a decade. I now feel this reality, not just as a calculation, but as the deep, embodied weight of patience. The doubt from October hasn't vanished, but it's now a smaller voice beneath a much more confident one. I automatically increased my monthly investment transfer by $200, acting before any hesitation could set in. The following week, I took Devin to lunch, splitting a reasonable bill and laughing more than in months. The path's direction is now clear. The journey ahead remains extensive, but I can now clearly perceive its direction, a clarity I lacked at the very beginning. Something fundamental has shifted within me, and there's no turning back from this new understanding. I've reached level 6, the arrival, marking my 8th year on this path, now at 33 years old. I find myself in a coffee shop on a Tuesday morning at 10 a.m., without any immediate obligations until 1 p.m. This isn't a holiday or a sick day. It's simply an ordinary Tuesday, yet it feels profoundly different. This is what enough truly feels like from the inside, having the leisure to slowly savor a hot cup of coffee. My brokerage account currently holds $214,000, and my Roth IRA adds another $68,000 to the total. Combined, I have $282,000 actively invested across these accounts. A 2023 Federal Reserve survey revealed the median American between 35 and 44 has a net worth of about $135,000, including home equity. At 33, I've already surpassed that median in liquid, investable assets alone, even without owning a home. This wasn't precisely my original blueprint. The initial plan revolved around the enough number I defined at 25 and refined annually. My target wasn't early retirement at 33. It was accumulating $400,000 in invested assets. At that point, the 4% rule, a historically reliable withdrawal rate for 30-year retirements, would generate $16,000 annually. This, combined with a modest income from work I genuinely choose, means my financial stability won't depend on trading hours for someone else's pay rate. The core desire has always been options, not material possessions or social standing. I haven't reached the full number yet, but I can feel it. You haven't quite reached your financial goal yet, but you're sensing its proximity. You can almost feel the shape of the life that awaits on the other side. Your Honda Fit, despite accumulating 91,000 miles, remains meticulously maintained and entirely paid off. Owning a reliable, debt-free vehicle is, financially speaking, one of the most effective decisions an adult can make. Consider that the average new car payment in 2024 was over $700 monthly, a cost you've successfully avoided for 8 years. This single choice, compounded with market returns over 8 years, represents an estimated $124,000 in wealth. Although rents have risen, your apartment costs $1,450 monthly, yet you've kept housing expenses consistently below 25% of your take-home pay. Achieving this required a strategic move 2 years ago and a period with a roommate, an experience you hold no regrets about. The one-in, one-out rule for possessions persists in your life, not as strict discipline, but now as a genuine preference. This approach ensures your personal space truly feels like your own, a feeling unattainable in a cluttered or accumulated environment. This cultivates a distinct relationship with belongings. Every item in your home is there by conscious choice, not accidental accumulation. Last year, your friend Devin, at 32, finally realized his dream of purchasing a house. The mortgage payments are substantial, and the down payment consumed nearly all his modest accumulated savings. Despite the financial strain, the house is undeniably real in his, filling him with a profound and genuine sense of pride. Attending his housewarming, you stood in his backyard, eating grilled food, and felt an unburdened pride for both of you. This specific feeling, a rare and simple emotion, replaced the comparisons that used to cut so deeply, silencing them entirely. You've begun to grasp the true meaning of arrival, a concept far deeper than you once imagined. It isn't a final destination you simply reach and settle on, but rather a profound threshold you step across. Beyond this point, The future's demands surprisingly cost less than the struggles of the present did before. You are no longer actively striving to buy time. Instead, time now unfolds naturally and effortlessly on its own. Now, enjoying a second coffee, you watch the Tuesday morning light stream in, reflecting on your past self. You remember yourself at 25, frantically crunching numbers late at night, a cold cup beside you, a knot of panic in your chest. You wish you could impart wisdom to that younger version, yet you understand some truths cannot be explained. Such profound lessons must be experienced directly. They are lived, not merely told or taught to another. This is level 7, the truth. At 35, seated comfortably in a simple room, you've reached a significant financial milestone. You've finally crossed the $43,000 mark, the enough figure you set at 25, adjusted for inflation twice. You gazed at this number with the same quiet intensity you once applied to your very first apartment spreadsheet. However, the silence that now surrounds this achievement carries an entirely new and different significance. When you initially embarked on this journey, you genuinely believed you were simply solving a financial challenge. You thought it was all about mathematical rules, a high savings rate, no car payments, index funds, and strict housing limits. These seemed like precise financial tools you were mastering, but you were actually embracing a philosophy whose full depth you couldn't yet grasp. What you were truly engaging in was the practical application of a philosophy whose full implications were initially beyond your grasp. Financial minimalism, it turns out, is not merely about possessing fewer material goods, despite what many might superficially claim. Instead, it demands a persistent, honest daily assessment, continually probing with the question, what is the actual purpose of this? This rigorous inquiry extends to every single purchase, every expense, and every choice you make about your lifestyle. For instance, the car you faithfully drove for 9 years served a singular, practical function: transportation. It fulfilled this need with absolute efficiency, generating no unnecessary expenditure or waste. Similarly, those various subscriptions you eventually canceled were originally intended for entertainment. However, the enjoyment they offered was negligible and easily replaced, causing them to fail your fundamental "what is this for?" assessment. You consciously chose to forego lifestyle inflation, consistently resisting the urge to upgrade after each raise and promotion. Even with your salary now at $89,000, your visible life has not undergone a single corresponding improvement or material change. That substantial capital was instead allocated to a real purpose, channeled into investments where it would compound significantly. As a result, that money now generates $16,000 annually, operating entirely independently of your direct labor. Yet, what few reveal about financial minimalism after 10 years is that the money itself isn't your greatest source of gratitude. The most cherished outcome is the profound clarity you have cultivated, a direct result of that decade-long habit of questioning, what is this for? This practice has permeated every aspect of your existence, enhancing your relationships, structuring your time more intentionally, and freeing you from obligations to maintain false appearances. Your external presentation remains modest. A pleasant apartment, an older car, and a thoughtfully chosen wardrobe reflect your intentional choices. Even your vacations prioritize genuine experiences over showcasing status, making your external life appear quite ordinary. Yet, by every internal metric that holds personal significance, you find yourself exactly where you always intended to be. Meanwhile, your friend Devin has seen success, securing a promotion and benefiting from his house's appreciation, still driving his familiar truck. We recently shared a meal, his suggestion and generous treat, which I accepted because his gesture held more weight than any financial calculation. During that dinner, he uttered words that have resonated with me ever since, revealing a persistent inner struggle. He confided, "I feel like I'm always catching up to something," a sentiment I understood but chose not to address at that moment. What Devin relentlessly pursues is the very sensation you sought at 25, that profound feeling of having finally arrived and permission to genuinely relax. However, this coveted sense of arrival is not something that can ever be acquired through purchase. This fundamental truth underpins every aspect of this entire narrative. It's not about condemning spending, nor is desiring beautiful possessions a character flaw, nor was your modest car a sign of enlightenment compared to his truck. The genuine truth is far simpler, yet simultaneously more challenging to grasp than any of those surface-level interpretations. The feeling of having arrived cannot be bought because its essence isn't found in any material object you might acquire. Instead, it resides in the confidence you place in your own future, in whether you genuinely believe you are constructing something meaningful. This holds true even when your progress isn't visible to others, when social events happen elsewhere, or when late-night photos depict lavish, vibrant scenes. When you trust in your own path, the pressure to outwardly demonstrate your arrival at success naturally diminishes. While the human desire for recognition doesn't vanish entirely, its insistent demand significantly quiets down. It transforms from the sole voice dictating your choices into merely one perspective among many, losing its overwhelming influence. By 35, you may not own the grand house, new truck, or renovated kitchen, the typical markers your peer group uses to signal success. Instead, you possess a brokerage account past its target number and the invaluable freedom of a Tuesday morning that is truly your own. This is a life whose contours feel intimately familiar to you, precisely because you meticulously designed its blueprint years ago. That pivotal night, at 25, alone with a calculator and cold coffee, you made a quiet, fierce decision to uncover what was truly real. The intricate financial guidelines were never the ultimate goal. Instead, they served as a mere structure for holding a profound, persistent question. This core inquiry, to which the rules consistently guided you back, week after week, year after year, with every financial transaction, was always the same. It wasn't about whether you could afford something or if you deserved it, but rather, who am I building with this? Consistently confronting that question for a decade, with unwavering honesty, shapes your life more profoundly than any single financial decision ever could. Now, as the steam rises from your hot coffee, you mindfully finish it before it has a chance to cool. This is the profound culmination of building a life that truly reflects you, a testament to the power of asking the right questions. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for future insights and join our community in exploring what truly matters. See you in the next one, where we continue this journey together.